Pessimism, the deadly disease of always looking on the bad side, the problem side, the difficult side, checking all the reasons why it can't be done. The poor pessimist leads an ugly life. He doesn't try to figure out what's right. He tries to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't look for virtue. He looks for faults. And when he finds them, he's delighted. How ugly. This is the poor guy who looks through the window, doesn't see the sunset. He sees the specks on the window. And this is the poor guy, right, who rushes up, takes such leave of his senses. This guy rushes up and he says, I've got 5 good reasons why it won't work. He's so dumb he doesn't know all he needs 1. He's got 5. To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people 2 different ways? Answer, it all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. Poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become.
There wouldn't be positive without negative. It's part of the life scenario. Ancient scripture says it best. There's a time to laugh and a time to cry. You've got to become so sophisticated and well-educated that you don't laugh when it's time to cry. You've also got to learn to cry well. How are you going to identify with others if you don't cry with them? The negative side is very important, so don't ignore it. You need to let it be a part of the scenario. In fact, you need to learn to master it. Negativity is not to be ignored. It's to be mastered. It makes us better than we are to wrestle with it. It makes us better than we are to acknowledge and fight tyranny that moves into vulnerable countries, ignorance that moves into your life, procrastination that robs you of your fortune, or poor health. That's the legacy of neglecting your health disciplines. You've got to do battle with the enemies, those outside of you as well as those within. So learn how to handle the negative. Negativity can actually be a powerful force for change. It plays a key role in the day that turns your life around. There are 4 stages to the day that turns your life around, and the first is disgust. Disgust is a negative emotion, but it can have a very positive, motivating effect. Disgust says, I've had it. What an important day that could be. I met a beautiful, accomplished, extraordinary woman in New York. She was the vice president of a company I did some work for. I got to know her, and I found out her story. She never went to high school or college. I said, how did you get here? She said, well, when I was a young mother, I once asked my husband for $10. And he said, what for? Before that day was over, I decided I would never ask again. So I started looking for opportunities, taking classes, and putting myself through school. Now I'm a vice president, and I make a lot of money. I kept my promise because I've never, ever had to ask again. That was her life-changing day, the day she said, enough is enough. The next stage in a life-changing day is decision. If you sat down today and made a list of changes you've decided to make, that list could furnish enough inspiration for the next 5 or 10 years. What an inspiring day. The day you bring yourself to decide to change your life. The third stage is desire, wanting that change badly enough. Sometimes desire waits for a trigger, waits for something to happen. It may be a movie, a seminar, a sermon, a book, a confrontation with an enemy, or a conversation with a friend who finally levels with you. Whatever the experience, it is so valuable. Here's my best advice. Welcome all experiences. You'll never know which one is going to turn your life around. Don't put up walls. The walls that keep out disappointment also keep out happiness. Take down the walls. Go for the experience. Let it teach you. The last stage of a life-changing day is resolve. Resolve says, I will. These are two of the most powerful words in the language. The best definition of resolve I've ever heard came from a junior high school student in Foster City, California. I was addressing her class one day, and we were discussing some keywords. I asked the kids, who can tell me what resolve means? Some didn't know the answer, and some tried to guess. The last answer I got was the best. This girl about 2 rows back says, I think I know, Mr. Ron. I think resolve means promising yourself you'll never give up. I said, that's the best definition I've ever heard. She's probably giving her own seminar somewhere today. Promise yourself you'll read the books until your skills change. You'll go to seminars until you get a handle on what they're teaching. You'll practice until you develop the skills. Never give up until you've gotten what you want. Don't miss the chance to grow. Resolve that you'll pay the price until you learn, change, grow, and become what you want to be. You'll discover some of life's best treasures when you pay that price.
It's not what happens that determines the major part of your future. It's not what happens. What happens, happens to us all. He said the key is what you do about it. It's not what happens, it's what you do about it. And he said if you will start that process of change, do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. If you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances, since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. And he says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside.
There are 2 phrases I'd like you to ponder for a moment. The first is that life and business are like the changing seasons. That's one of the best ways to illustrate life. It's like the seasons that change. Here's the second phrase. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. Now, with those 2 key phrases in mind, let's turn to what I consider to be the 4 major lessons in life to learn. The first lesson is this. Learn how to handle the winters. They come regularly, right after autumn. Some are long, some are short, some are difficult, some are easy, but they always come right after autumn. That is never going to change. There are all kinds of winters. The winter when you can't figure it out. The winter when everything seems to go haywire. One writer called it the winter of discontent. There are economic winters, social winters, personal winters, when your heart is smashed into 1,000 pieces. Wintertime brings disappointment, and disappointment is common to all of us. So learn how to handle the winters. You must learn how to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn how to handle difficulty. It always comes after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They come right after expansions. That isn't going to change. The big question is, what do you do about winters? You can't get rid of January simply by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do. You can get stronger. You can get wiser. And you can get better. Make a note of that trio of words. Stronger, wiser, better. The winters won't change, but you can. Before I understood this, I used to wish it were summer when it was winter. When things were difficult, I used to wish they were easy. I didn't know any better. Then Mr. Schoaf gave me the answer from a part of his very unique philosophy when he said, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom." Here is the second major lesson in life. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. Spring is opportunity. And spring always follows winter. What a great place for spring, right after winter. If you were going to put it somewhere, that would be the place to put it. God is a genius. Days follow nights. Opportunity follows difficulty. Expansion follows recession. And this all happens with regularity. You can count on it. However, the mere arrival of spring is no sign that things are going to look good in the fall. You must do something with the spring. In fact, everyone has to get good at one of two things: planting in the spring or begging in the fall. So take advantage of the day, take advantage of the opportunity, and read every book you can get your hands on to learn how to take advantage of the spring. Get busy quickly on your springs, your opportunities. There are just a handful of springs that have been handed to each of us. Life is brief, even at its longest. Whatever you are going to do with your life, get at it. Don't just let the seasons pass by. The third major lesson in life is this: learn how to nourish and protect your crops all summer. Sure enough, as soon as you've planted, the busy bugs and noxious weeds are out to take things over. And here's the next bit of truth: they will take it unless you prevent it. There are two key phrases to consider with the third major lesson. The first is all good will be attacked. Don't press me for a reason. I was not in on some of the early decisions, so I don't know why. I just know that it's true. Let reality be your best beginning. Every garden will be invaded. The second phrase is, all values must be defended. Social values, political values, friendship values, business values, all must be defended. Every garden must be tended all summer. If you don't develop this skill, you'll never wind up with anything of value. The fourth major lesson in life is this: learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. One of the highest forms of human maturity is accepting full responsibility. Learn how to reap in the fall without apology if you have done well, and without complaint if you have not. That's being mature. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's the best way to be. The seasons don't work for you or against you. They just are what they are. They are guaranteed to come every year, bringing both the positive and the negative. So it's up to you to remember the four major lessons in life, prepare for them, and make the most of everything they offer.
Now I want you to answer this question: what kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? And I'll give you time to write that down now. What kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? Now we've got two things working. What you become helps you to achieve, and what you achieve helps you to become. And the more you become, the more you can achieve, and the more you achieve, the more you can become. Who knows which affects the other the most? So now just write this exercise. Start with a few sentences. We won't have time for you to, take a lot of time, but just start with a few sentences. Your concept of the person you think you must become to achieve what you want. This is time for a little truth here. Maybe you need to become much wiser than you are at the moment. You need to become stronger. You need to have better health. Maybe you need a little coaching to really become the person I want to become. I'm going to have some coaching. Physical coaching, spiritual coaching, developing skills coach. To be the influence you want to be, you got to build an incredible reputation. What kind of person must I be to attract all that I want in my life, and the people that I want, and the opportunities that I want? When you knock on the door and opportunity opens, you must stand there as a very attractive person, or you may not be invited. One of the most mysterious and unique phrases that Jesus ever used. Here's what he said: I stand at the door and knock. And if you opened the door, would you probably invite him in, this extraordinary person. You say, wow, yeah. And he said, if you invite me, I'll come in, sit down, talk things over. For you to be that kind of attractive person, that if you knocked on the door of opportunity and it opened and you stood there, would you be the kind of person that opportunity would say, come right in and sit down and let's talk about the future? What kind of person?